Welcome to the Scream Show. And if you're wondering why we've changed the name, well, watch this.
If you're lucky enough to be a motorcycle journalist, this is a familiar scene. A racetrack taken over by a manufacturer for a day. A line of new bikes ready to be thrashed. The pits all beautified for the spoiled journalists. And a presentation to tell us why this manufacturer's bike is simply the best thing we'll have ever ridden. At least since the last time we rode one of their bikes. ...2015 is shaping up to be an absolutely mental year for superbikes. In a couple of weeks' time, we'll be testing the Yamaha R1 on this show, and shortly after that, hopefully, we'll get our hands on Kawasaki's new supercharged H2. Cannot wait for that one. There's also a new GSX-R 1000 due, but before all of them, getting a steal on all of them is BMW's new S1000Rr. It's brand new for 2015. It's being launched here at Zwartkops for the first time in South Africa. Is it really going to be as good as they say? The world launch of this bike took place in Spain at the back end of last year, and I was lucky enough to be on it. So they also includes me. And just like all the other journos, I raved about the updated S1000Rr. But will it still make such an impression at a short little track at altitude here in South Africa? Well, the ingredients certainly haven't changed since the last time I rode it. At first glance, it might look like exactly the same bike as last year, but it is in fact slimmer and lighter than before. One of the loveliest improvements has been the exhaust. It looks as small and purposeful as a race pipe, which is exactly what it transforms itself into as you very easily remove the baffle and free up some juicy extra sound. The bike's face has changed too. The asymmetrical headlights have been swapped around, and there's an even more massive air intake. Eventually though, I can no longer put off going to work. And it is work, believe me. Hanging onto a 200 horsepower bike as it flings itself at the horizon, or simply trying to stop your arms collapsing like England's top batting order every time you mash the quite ridiculously powerful brakes, is more exercise than this old duffer is used to. Luckily, as well as being mind-fryingly fast, it's also remarkably easy to ride. With a vast array of acronyms to help keep you upright, from ABS, electronically adjustable suspension, and a genius level traction control system, it achieves the impossible by making you feel safe while also terrifying you with its sheer raw speed. If I was to single out one improvement to what was already the best four-cylinder superbike, it would have to be the quick shifter. As well as going up through the gears without using the clutch or closing the throttle, it is now possible to do the same on the way down. Just prod the gear lever for the next lower gear and the S1000 magically sorts the change out, even helping out with a perfectly timed blip of the throttle. Simple, yet it has a hugely positive effect on your riding. Well, it's definitely every bit as good as I remember from the Spanish World launch. Now, that was a fast track and Zwartkops is tight and twisty, but even around here, it's an absolute monster of a bike. And it's hot now in Pretoria, as it always is by the middle of the day. I think I've done enough on the track. There's only one bike left in pit lane, and that's this red one. We need a bit of road testing, I think. But I'm going to leave that up to Harry. Now, remember, last year he rode a 5-year-old Yamaha R1, and he thought it was amazing. I think his head might fall off after this. judging by the fact that the entire road test consisted of him going, "Nah!" I'm thinking you're quite impressed.
That's all you can do.
So it's either scream or laugh hysterically.
It's insane, so you might as well be insane with it. It's the most ridiculous thing I've ever ridden on the road.
I think you've been spoiled because this is really the first proper superbike you've had for any length of time, isn't it? So,
yeah, true.
So everything's going to feel absolutely amazing to Harry, but let me tell you, this is a stupendous engine. You won't have felt the chassis much out there, though, but things like the brakes.
Oh, for goodness sake, you look at him and you stopped on a sixpence. I mean, it's ridiculous. I was in the screen at one point, I had to stop so hard, and I was like, my bonus went straight forward. It's just everything. Everything is insane. It's got... I've never been polarised by a bike, in my opinion, so much. On the one hand, I love the fact that in this namby-pamby world where people are telling you can't do this, can't do that, that somebody's gone out and made a bike as insane and stupid as this, which needs so many computers just to keep it on the planet. On the other hand, what is the point? Where could you ever use all this performance? And I mean, why not have half the power and use it all the time than all this power and only use it a quarter of the time? But
I think you better get back to screaming. You make more sense when you scream. If you had half the power, you wouldn't scream, would you? You'd just, that's
True.
nice, that's quick, that's...
yes, this is true.
It's the scream factor. That's exactly what this bike is about. You are right, on the road, it should probably be illegal.
It actually, I mean, there's many things which are illegal which should be made legal, but this is one that should be illegal.
Okay, so it's lived up to its Spanish launch, it's lived up to the hype from the Swartkop South African launch. It is brilliant. It's probably the most brilliant of all the superbikes at the moment, but on the show in a couple of weeks, we'll be reporting from Cape Town, we'll be riding the new R1, and from what I've heard,
it's going to have to be very, very, very special to be better than this.
It is going to have to be special. By the way, just before we go, what do you think about that? Do you use the auto blip down change?
Oh, it's brilliant. I feel like a racer everywhere, even like go to the shops.
So,
fantastic.
All right then. I think that sums it up. It's brilliant, it's fast, it's beastly, and, well, just give us a revision of exactly how you summed the bike up.
Ah! Something like that. Before the break, we were looking at BMW's new S1000Rr, but we didn't talk about price.
That's probably because it's so frightening.
What is it?
Well, look, because you can stack it with as many sort of different levels of electronics.
What is it?
It's over 200,000 rand. It's about 210,000 rand, 214, but you can go all the way up 240, 250. I mean, something we never even touched on at the track. You can spec it with a telemetry system. But again, that's, wow,
yes.
It's going to be costing a lot of money. But Bavarian Motorcycles, which is where we are hosting this show from, they've got a deal on at the moment. So whichever of those levels that you buy, they'll chuck in a 2 or 3 year maintenance plan?
Service plan. 2 year service plan. So your first 3 or 4 services are going to be absolutely free.
And that does make a difference because you've got your 10 and your 20 and that sort of thing, haven't you? So you're bound to rack up a load of expense. Deals? Aprilia have still got their deals on. Remember, Cayenne World have taken them over recently, and so they're obviously trying to punt the brand. Still got that RSV4 for 179.
179, and they've got the Kappa Nord for 169.
Absolutely.
Actually, and that Kappa Nord comes with all the electronic toys as well, doesn't it?
At that price, it is a proper bargain.